Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a problem that can totally paralyze even the most passionate nonprofits. They're often packed with great managers, but absolutely starved for true leaders. Let's break down what that really means. This analogy just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? So many nonprofits have these incredibly capable people doing amazing work, but without a clear direction, all that energy and efficiency, well, it can just go to waste. You've got all this power just spinning its wheels. So, how do we get this car on the right road? First, we have to really diagnose the problem at its core. And that means getting super clear on the huge difference between the act of managing and the art of leading. And here it is, laid out plain and simple. Management is all about execution, right? It's the planning, the controlling, just keeping that engine running smoothly. But leadership, that's about direction. It's about setting the priorities and building the kind of mental toughness an organization needs to handle a world that's always changing. You know, what this all boils down to is authority. Management authority often just comes from a title on a business card, from a place in the hierarchy. But leadership, that has to be earned. You earn it through respect, through results, and by taking real responsibility for how your team does, not just handing out tasks. And this brings us to what's called the management trap. It's this fascinating but really frustrating cycle where having incredibly capable managers isn't just not enough. It can actually make the problem a whole lot worse when leadership is missing. First off, you get total decision paralysis. You've got these effective, brilliant management teams all ready to execute, but they're stuck. They're just waiting for decisions and priorities that never, ever get set from the top. They are all revved up with absolutely nowhere to go. Next, a reality gap starts to open up. And this is that painful disconnect between the organization's big, inspiring mission statement and the confusing, frustrating reality of the day-to-day work. The why we do what we do just gets totally lost in the what. So what's the typical response? Well, to make up for that lack of direction, organizations often just double down on the one thing they know: management. They add more managers, more rules, more controls. They're literally trying to manage their way out of a core leadership problem. So, if leadership is the obvious answer, why is it so rare? Well, the source material points to a few systemic failures that create a really nasty downward spiral, one that actively snuffs out the very leaders that these organizations need the most. It's a toxic cycle for sure. It usually starts with just neglecting to invest in future leaders. From there, a culture of risk aversion takes hold because everyone's afraid to fail. And that leads to power struggles and a culture of blame shifting, where nobody wants to take ultimate responsibility for anything. Now, this whole internal crisis, it has catastrophic consequences out in the real world. The nonprofit marketplace is more demanding and more unstable than it has ever been. And without real leaders at the wheel, organizations just can't keep up. This lack of leadership creates what the source calls a mental toughness deficit. The organization just starts defaulting to whatever is easy or popular, not what's difficult but absolutely necessary. It loses the ability to make those hard choices, to innovate, and ultimately to survive. Okay, but let's dive into the solution because it's not all doom and gloom. After diagnosing the problem, the source material gives us a clear, really actionable blueprint for how to fix it, how to stop just managing, and finally start leading. The path forward really involves three critical shifts. First, training has to pivot away from just technical skills to things like strategic foresight and mentorship. Second, funders have to be re-educated so they see leadership as critical infrastructure, not just overhead. And finally, that power has to be distributed, creating a culture where people are empowered to take informed action, not just sit around waiting for permission. So we're going to leave you with this final thought. It's a simple but really profound question to take back to your own teams. In a world that demands adaptation and vision, are you simply managing the present, or are you actively building the leaders who are going to create the future?